In this tutorial we'll be going over creating our Ember material along with our HeatWave material. So we'll be importing 3 files this time: my Ember material, my HeatWave, and then a texture I call Smoke 2, which is a sub-UV'd texture which will help with our HeatWave. So I'm going to hit OK. Compression no alpha enabled, and I can just hit OK to all. And first we're going to start with our Ember material, which is actually pretty easy to do. Come back over to the fire material that we've made in previous videos. Before I do that, let me save this here. So our fire material that we made in previous videos, we're going to duplicate this. Go create a copy. It's going to be called T_Embers. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to open this material up here. And minimize this down a little bit. So we need to come back to our textures and grab this Ember texture. And there is a difference here. We're going to delete this parameter mesh sub-UV, hold down T and left click, and bring in our texture sample. And now we're going to plug this into all these areas. So now we got our Ember material here. And I'm going to look at adjusting these values here a little bit. I'm going to change this one to a 1. And then these are going to change to a 3 and a 3. And this one is going to change to a 2. So it's just a little bit dimmer. And that's all we're going to need to do here, except for one final difference. This mesh particle sub-UV needs to be turned off, and use with particle systems needs to be enabled. And now we'll be done with that. Now we can save this. And now if we come back to materials, we have our Ember material there as well. So our next material we need to do is our HeatWave material, and this one is very simplistic to do. First off, we're going to grab, just going to drop into our material and go right click here, go new material. So we're in our grouping materials fire, and I'm going to call this one M_HeatWave and hit OK. Now come back to our textures here. And the first one we're going to need to drop in is just our texture 2D, so hold down T and left click. Next one we need to do here is grab our 2x2 sub-UV texture. And I'm going to type param mesh sub-UV. Bring that in and apply my smoke to it. I'm going to give it smoke text as its parameter name. And so now we can start to hook this up here. First off, we're going to need a multiply texture. So we'll go ahead and grab a multiply. And that's going to plug into our distortion. And in order to get our distortion, let's see, we're going to use, let's see here. Actually, I am going to work with a translucent for now. I may adjust this later, depending on if I like the look or not. Our first multiply plugs in here. Our parameter 2D plugs into, whoops, plug this one the wrong one. This one goes to distortion. This one goes to opacity. And then this one plugs into A. And we need another multiply. I'm going to bring in a constant. I'm just going to set this up to 100 to start because I just want a pretty extreme value. Switch this to a ball here. If you look close, you can see the distortion we have going on this here. So now we need one final thing to make this work, and that is a panner. I'll plug our panner in here, and I'm going to give it an X speed of 0.5. So now you can really start seeing it going here. And then a 0.24. Oops, 0.24. So again, now you can see what it's doing. You can see that it's distorting. And so now, the final step here is just turning it on so it works with particle sprites. And we can go ahead and close it and save it. Now we can go ahead and save our package here. And that will conclude setting up our distortion texture for our HeatWave. Actually, before I close this down, I just want to mention some things that we can try here. There's a whole bunch of different modes in here. We could try, well, modulate won't work. If we come here and look at additive, I think an additive might actually, well, let's see. You know, we're going to go, oops. I think we are going to go with additive actually. If you want to change those later, you can go ahead and check that out, see which one you like better, additive or translucent. They'll both do about the same when working with the particle.